Nigerians continue to
travel the city of Lagos.
There is still a poor level of
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west, and around Africa. We break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV
24-hour news station.
It's good to have you join us on Core Digest this morning. And a particular one making so much wave and gaining so much popularity, aside from being a politician or a musician or maybe an entertainer, is a deadly disease by the name Ebola virus. And we make jokes out of it. You hear Ebola everywhere. Though it's still unfortunate that there are some people who do not even know about Ebola. I was outside Lagos yesterday and I walked up to someone to ask if the person actually knows about Ebola. And the person was like, Ebola, Bikilonje, you know. It was at Oderemo. And I was wondering, if people do not know about this deadly disease, this virus, then how do they even know how to go about preventing themselves from contracting such? And that is why we are discussing this very topic this morning. We're talking about the Ebola virus, awareness, and the race against time. How much time do we have? What are the things we need to do as a nation so that our story will not become that of the other West African countries where we have a number of people who have died of the virus. This morning on the program, we have as our guest Victor Ohai, a public affairs analyst. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join us.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it's. I'm curious. This Ebola virus has been around since 1976.
76, yes.
How come we're just hearing about it?
Well, hearing about it, we say generally is becoming, I don't know if you use the word popular, notorious in these parts now, only because of the incident that just happened. Ebola has been around, like you rightly pointed out, for quite a while now, since the mid-70s. Around 76, the first case that was, made popular was when it was first discovered, and But in these parts, in Nigeria, there has been no recorded case of Ebola until recently. Before now, it was more prevalent in Central Africa and some parts of West Africa, but not one case has been reported in this country. And the reason this also has become what it is that, in a sense, Nigeria is fortunate, I use the word fortunate, out of an unfortunate incident, that the victim is high profile, is a top government official from Liberia. He was coming in a high-powered delegation. It wasn't just anybody. And as soon as he disembarked and collapsed and what happened started happening, he was flown to another very high-profile clinic, hospital, where the doctors, in spite of the strike and all that, probably would have gone to general hospital, were able to, diagnose the symptoms, also tracing from the history of where it's coming from as well, that this was Ebola. And so it made news. It is not impossible that other victims may have come through our land, very porous land border, for instance. Some may have come through airlines as well. They may have collapsed a day or two after, and probably just gone off, and it would have been dismissed as witchcraft. You know what I mean? So suddenly he just came from abroad, and within 2 days, it just collapsed and died. So the reason we're hearing about it now is because of the victim. The high-profile nature of the victim and his visibility, because he was going for a conference. He wasn't just anybody. So he left a yawning gap where is Lagbaja, for instance? Of course, the question will be asked, and then what happened? Oh, he took ill, he died. What did he die of? So there's no way it could have been hidden. So, and of course, it's news because it's already killing people, you know, in Liberia, you know, in some of the West African countries, you know, Sierra Leone and so on. And so, because of, you know, because of what's been happening in these other West African countries and the fear that it might come to these parts, you know, we have been alert. We have been, you know, on the lookout for the symptoms and things like that. So when this happened, you know, it made the headlines, of course.
Yes, talking about the popularity of the person that was involved and
the high profile,
the high
not
profile,
yes,
popularity. Yes. The commissioner in Lagos, when there was this press briefing of the Federal Ministry of Health and the Lagos State Ministry of Health, actually told people not to panic. But like you well analyzed now, other people could have come in with this virus. Is there no reason to panic indeed?
The reason to panic is, first, I want to say kudos to the Lagos State Ministry of Health. They've done a brilliant job, but they have also done something that they didn't manage information properly. They have created more panic than necessary, okay? Because, I mean, they have, whereas it is important to be able to trace other people who came with him and all the other people who went, they made it seem like they were hunting for common criminals. I don't know if you get the same feeling, but I had that feeling, you know, that it was as if they were hunting for common criminals. The fact that I'm seated next to a victim should elicit sympathy, not make it seem like, oh, don't let him escape. Where are they? Where, you know, you are hunting for them, like, you know, and at the same time you're saying to me, don't panic. That didn't make sense to me, you know. Like I said, they did a brilliant job, quite frankly, of closing in, you know, doing all that they can, you know, under the circumstance to checkmate the spread, you know, and all that. And also, they have been doing a lot also in the area of disseminating information. But should we panic? With the kind of borders that we have, I think we should panic, you know. The fact that, when I say, but I'm also not just the land borders, even the air borders, where people, because of what they can get, you know, don't do what they should do properly. You know, for 200 naira, 100 naira, you would sell your mother's soul, for instance. You know, we have reason to panic. Our rural population right now are not getting the kind of awareness that they should. I think we should panic. Bushmeat is not a delicacy in Lagos, for instance, or in the big metropolis. It's more in the villages. Eating monkeys is in the villages. Eating bats is in the villages. Fruits fall from trees. You know, fruit bat is a major carrier, okay? And the way it is transmitted is this. They go there, from the saliva, some of the food they eat fall down, and the non-human primates, for instance, monkeys, or we don't have too many gorillas around, they pick up these things, eat them, and then, you know, this is how this thing spread. You can look at the chain, the way it goes. And in our rural communities, no one is talking about Ebola right now. You ask someone, he said, what was the reaction again?
Ebola,
soon now you begin to see people making fun of people called Ebola, you know, and things like that. You know, but it's much more serious. It is very serious, okay? Right now, are we creating awareness in the local languages? You know, are we spreading news about this in our rural communities? Are we having health workers talk to people about it? Do our health workers even have sufficient information? There is a need for not just education, but re-education of our healthcare givers and workers, you know, on all fronts. Both the labs to know what to look out for, the nurses to know what to look out for and how to handle victims, you know. Our medical doctors also need education. Some of them have probably treated Ebola cases without knowing it is Ebola. You know what happens here when there's a lot of misdiagnosis. You know, you go, everything for them is malaria, okay? And then they start treating you for malaria instead of doing, especially the private hospitals, okay? They start treating you for malaria, and then, you know, before they come down to whatever, you know, the real problem is. So, in a sentence, we have reason to worry. It is closer than we think. Not everybody was on that flight who has been in touch with him has been traced as yet. But that's only one case. Many more could have escaped and come into the country. They may have died, which means it may not have spread somewhere, but we never know. But we have reason to worry until we create sufficient awareness to ensure that it doesn't spread unnecessary.
We'll take a short sound now from Peter Riot, the director of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And one interesting thing about this man, Peter Riot, is the fact that he was the one who discovered the Ebola virus in 1976. We'll quickly have this one.
Countries are coming out of decades of civil war. Liberia and Sierra Leone are now trying to reconstruct themselves, and so there is a total lack of trust in authorities and all that, and that combined with poverty and very poor health services, I think, is the explanation why we have this extensive outbreak now. I think fear is a really major driving force of this epidemic. Fear of the virus and lack of trust in authorities and health services. That combination is really bad. Spreading in the, let's say, in the population here, I'm not that worried about it. I wouldn't be worried to sit next to someone with Ebola virus on the tube, as long as they don't vomit on you. In every culture, out of respect for the death, you know, the body is washed, it's cleaned and so on, and, but if you do that with someone with Ebola, that's a very, very risky business. There are a couple of experimental vaccines which have been developed and which turned out to protect in animal experiments. And also there are some treatments that may work based on studies in animals.
That was Peter Riot, and it was talking about fear and lack of trust in authorities. And you mentioned something earlier that as much as you want to give kudos to the Lagos State government, you pointed out something that they did not do well, like hunting after people. But you know, in this part of country, the world rather, we don't willingly yield ourselves to authority. If I feel I have something I feel funny, I would not willingly go to these people. So what do you expect the government to do?
First of all, do not stigmatize the disease, okay? What they're doing is almost stigmatizing it. They're making it look like you have Ebola, then you know what I mean? Like you heard what he said, and that's an authority. You know, none of them is as qualified as he is here. He discovered it, you know, for God's sake. And then you make it seem like you don't sit. He said you can sit in the tube next to an Ebola victim, you know, as long as it doesn't vomit on you. There's no problem. But here it's like, don't touch, don't go near. I mean, if I had it with what they're doing, you think I would let you know?
But the question here is, with how deadly this is, it has no cure yet.
No.
Is there no reason for people to want to separate themselves?
Education. Because if you drive victims on the ground, it's more dangerous for you. If you don't know, if I have it and you don't know,
okay,
it's better that you know I have it or that a person has it, and then you take all the necessary cautions, which means we can shake hands, we can do whatever we do together, but we do not exchange fluid, bodily fluid. That's a key.
When you talk
mode
about fluid now, what are we talking about?
Blood, semen, saliva, tears, whatever, you know, as long as it's body fluid.
So the question is, how can you prevent that? I'm shaking you. Some people have sweaty hands. Some people, while speaking,
if I have sweaty hands, if there's no opening in your hands, but that's not even it. I mean, it would take, there are, if you know, if like first line protection that you have to, and all that. The thing is, right now, if you want victims to come out, make them feel loved. Let them know that they can get help and that people need to support them. You understand? And that, you know, what is happening is no fault of theirs. It could happen to anyone, you know? Even if you're quarantining them, you do it with love. Not that nurses and doctors will come and, honestly, the way it's going is like people will have to take a stick and shove you out, move, here's your food, you know, things like that. That's not right. You understand what I'm saying? So the thing is, let's see it for what it is. It is a deadly virus. There is as yet no known cure, although it can be, you know, controlled to a large extent. Now, but when someone is a victim, how can he be helped? What should you do? That's what we should do. You don't say, if you see anybody, don't hide them. You make it seem like the person is a criminal. I ask you, is it a crime to have Ebola? It's not. No one sets out going to look for it. You understand? It's not even born out of, what do you call it now? It's not like a sexually transmitted, although it could be transmitted because of bodily fluid as well, but it's not like the way HIV used to be in those days where you say because a person is promiscuous or their lifestyle is the reason and all that. It's not the lifestyle disease, you know? So I think that if we want to succeed in this war, we should stop, quote unquote, criminalizing victims or making them seem like they have committed any offense. Let people know that it is unfortunate. Let people know that these people need help. Let people know that if these people are helped, it will help the community. When these people come in, treat them with love. I mean, treat them like the human beings that they are. Help them in every way possible. Don't make even a health worker seem like, no, me, I'm not going near this one. At this rate, that's what's going to happen. So the person will die, not so much because of, you know, the Ebola, but because of the way they are treated. And because they now make them seem like they are, you know, they are not fit to live anymore. They'll be stigmatized.
At this point where you rightly mentioned out earlier that the people in the rural areas, the major, talking about myths, is bush myths, monkeys and all of that. And
even the fruits that they pick up.
The fruit, exactly. These people cannot necessarily afford what the urban people afford when it comes to beef and other kinds of meats. How do we manage
bush
this?
meat is not cheap. It's more expensive.
No, but they hunt for it. Yeah. It's close to them.
Yeah.
That is what we're saying. How do we manage the fact that we don't even have enough information going to these people and what they eat?
That's what bothers me. That's what bothers me. We are majoring on the minor right now. I think that education and awareness, enlightenment is much more efficacious in controlling the spread of this disease than even attempting to cure or even talking about isolating. We need to show love. We need to victims. We need to show understanding to their family members as well. Because I tell you what, the way it is, if one person in the family has it, people will stigmatize the entire family at this rate. If we don't handle it properly, we need to show love, both in the way we carry out information about the disease. When public officers speak, they must demonstrate a sense of responsibility. Okay? Then there is a need for awareness. In all the local languages, using infographics, charts, and everything, and let people know, okay, that this is a very present and real danger in the country today. What should they do? What should they avoid? Okay? Don't just pick up fruits, you know. Even here, you see, fruits that fall from the ground, some of them half-eaten and things like that. You wash them and then maybe cut off the part. You know, people do that, you know, and then just put in your mouth and start eating. Some don't even bother to wash. Okay? They just go, okay, it ripened, that's why it fell. Bats, of course, you know, hibernate or move around these trees. And many of these fruits that fall are either from birds or from bats. Okay? how many people are aware? You know, we need to know that. When you cook your food, cook it, let it be well done. Don't handle raw beef with your ordinary hands, because if this passes from animals and all that, and you touch it with your bare hands, and before you know what's happening, you've taken something and put it in your mouth, probably didn't wash your hands properly afterwards. These are the kind of things that we need to be talking about, not stigmatizing people and making it seem like, oh, please, wherever they are, fish them out. Where, you know.
but honestly, do you feel we can take care of this thing? You want to wash, because I'm trying to paint the picture in my mind. You want to wash, you want to go about your normal cooking, you're wearing gloves to wash your beef. And you know, back then in school, my school had the largest concentration of bats. You just put a shot in the tree and bats, they all fall. And you begin to pick. You understand? Now, how can we, because it's not enough to say, let's create awareness. Let's know how we can create this awareness. How do you go to a woman whose daily meal is bats? They even sell bats and palm wine together. How do you go to that same person to say, do not eat bats anymore?
Very
and the
good.
person believes you.
No, very good. I'm glad that you said so, and that you know a community where they even take palm wine and bat and roasted bat.
Go well together.
They go well together. You've tasted it, have you?
No, not yet.
No, you don't have to admit it. Not on air. But anyway, so they go well together. I'm glad that you said this. What is the state government there doing? They're not even thinking about it. They have a commissioner of health. The doctors are talking about a surgeon general now. Nobody's, I mean, they're not creating any awareness in these same communities. Something happened to me yesterday. I love maize, boiled maize. You know, I stopped by, I was driving, and, you know, tried to buy some from a woman who was selling them. So, and then she gave me, she used a spoon, of course, when she was doing, and then there was one I didn't particularly like. I asked her to change. And then she took one with her bare hands and then put it, and at that point it just struck me and I said, what if? You know what I mean? Because if you buy boiled maize, your immediate reaction is not to go back and wash it. Mm-hmm. The next thing is it goes straight into your mouth, unless you're doing it yourself at home, okay? And every day in these markets, all of these things we see. A butcher, maybe a carrier, and he carries your meat, bah, bah, bah. The person where you go to buy your chicken or fish, they bring it out, bah, bah, bah. You take it, and you take out, when you go home, even before you boil, you touch with your hands first and all that. How much, you see, it's the education, the enlightenment that is critical at this point. This villager you talked about, or these villagers who love the delicacy of bat and palm wine, okay? You don't say, how do you explain? The question is, fine, this is good, but how can you help them? Let them know. Even if they're eating the bat, let them know what the dangers are. Let them know what the symptoms are, so that if there's a victim, immediately they would know. You understand? And then do the needful, okay? And like Peter Riot or Pirate, what's his name was, rightly said, we come from a culture where we respect our dead. You don't just carry somebody who's dead and just throw him into the ground and all that. You wash them first and all that. People are exposed. Mortuary workers, are they getting the education? Do they know there's Ebola? Do they know the risks involved? Lagos State government is talking. Are they already informing mortuary attendants? Okay? Have they started putting out public service announcements on radio in local languages, in Egun Yoruba, for instance? Lagos is the first spot where we've heard. It can be anywhere, but we're using this as a test case because this is the first place where it's been reported in Nigeria. And I want to repeat again, they've done well. They handled the first case very well. You know, the way it went. My problem is with the information management and the way they have treated it so far, in the sense that they're trying to make it seem like, you know, it's like almost like criminalizing victims rather than letting people, you know what the problems are and how people like that should and
Thank
can
you
be helped.
so much, Victor Okai. We'll take a break now, and when we return on the second half, we'll be talking about the issue of closing our borders. Should we or should we not? The federal government said that we are not closing our borders, but is that the right step to take at this point? Then the implication of this virus and the spread, as the doctors are on strike presently, and how do we accept the cremation of the dead, those that have died of this Ebola virus? Is it part of our culture? Are people going to accept that? This and more after this break. We'll bring you the news on the hour at 9. Thank you for watching.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.